Hi, this is From Ideology to Unity, a spiritual journey where we let go of ego and ideological doctrine in favor of meaning, purpose, and unity as a whole. So, as we live our lives and we're into spirituality, New Age ideas, and so forth, we don't always necessarily act in an enlightened way, let's say, all the time. There might be a time where you feel drawn to an old habit or some kind of indulgement that you feel isn't spiritual or isn't that you might feel that you're not worthy if you're doing it, or even if you feel drawn to do it. And you might wonder, am I feeling spiritual by doing this thing? Right? And the thing is, what I've realized about this is that when we're engaging in these distractions, this stimulation, this pleasure-seeking activity, or what have you, or whatever this old habit is, there's an aspect of you might feel like ashamed on some level, or smaller on some level after doing it, or even during doing it, right? But the truth is that shame and guilt precedes doing it, and is the reason why, in a sense, that on one level you're acting that way out of a negative self-belief of not being worth more and not being loved, and that that you can get a sense of love or something through that activity. Now, that might seem a bit weird, but there's this idea that drug addicts, they might not, as they're growing up or something, they might have missed out on some love from parents, let's say, and they may be trying to get something like that through their drug, right? And if we consider there's a negative self-belief or being incomplete, or there's something missing or wrong with you fundamentally, that's core to the ego. And let's be honest, whether you're most people listening probably have a spiritual ego or an ego of some kind, right? Not necessarily, but probably, right? Transforming the ego into a loyal servant instead of an ego, a negative programming that's rebellious, let's say, that takes time until, although it's all a moment, right? But in any case, so we consider, why are you feeling drawn to do these things that you thought, oh wait, I was beyond that, I moved beyond this, I started doing this meditation practice, stuff like this. Why do I feel drawn to do these things? Well, one thing is that it might be actually astrologically linked. I don't know for sure, but it might be linked to an astrological situation. Another thing is that these things, as they come up, it allows you to process them. And you might have moved on to new ways of doing things without dealing with the emotional and psychological or even past life issues behind that pattern. So the pattern might not be unraveled and healed yet, and you're just trying to do more spiritual, more enlightened, say, activities. And in a way, it's a sort of spiritual bypass. And keep in mind that spiritual bypassing isn't actually something to judge yourself or other people for. And it's not some terrible thing. In fact, if you notice and observe that you're in activity or in your attitude that you're spiritually bypassing, it's a fantastic thing, because it means you're now aware, you've gained greater awareness of yourself. So we always look at spiritual bypassing like this terrible thing, but it's like a stepping stone, I guess. Inevitably, it's going to happen. So it comes up, you get this desire, and it's not about what you do, right? Now, Never God focuses heavily on this as well, and other say teachings, discuss how the mental nature of reality, and we create our own reality, and basically we act out the programming, right? What we do is we can program our own mind, and then that's one part of us, and the other part of us acts out the programming, essentially. So we're simultaneously our own programmer and the program that runs that, the program we do. So where's I going with this? Yeah, so what you do, you can observe what you're doing. What matters is what's going on in here, or maybe in here. What's going on mentally while you're doing it and afterwards. So there's this activity. Let's say it's smoking. It could be anything else, and you're like, I thought I was past this. Why am I doing this thing, or whatever, right? And then what if you're like, I'm beating myself out egoically over this, out of a lack of self-worth, sort of negative self-belief, or it could be something else. You're like, and if you notice what you're doing, and you notice what the dynamic in your mind is, negative self-belief is, the more you notice, the better it is. And so maybe what you used to do is do it out of a sense of shame, and then, or not being good enough, or trying to, that you're not good enough as you are, that you need to feel pleasure or feel better in some way to be good enough, to be worthy, to be okay, when you're already fine, right? And the more you observe this stuff, it's like that itself is a healing process, because the light of awareness, is itself inherently healing. It's the ignorance, the darkness shrouding your heart is that which needs to be healed. It's that negative programming, or the rogue program, or whatever you call it, right? The program that isn't serving you. And it's not a bad thing to be doing these activities or habits that you might deem negative and unspiritual. It's an opportunity to gain greater awareness. And in a way, it's shadow work. But it's like, you don't need to go out of your way to do the shadow work. It's like your higher self and your subconscious are like doing it for you. And all you need to do is just be observant of yourself as you do it, and your own mind and your thoughts and feelings, etc. So yeah, I have a feeling that I'm not alone at the moment when it comes to spiritual people, that's a label, but who might, that I don't feel like it's just me that, being drawn to doing habits that we might judge as unspiritual. I hope this is helpful to you, and have a great day. Bye for now.